Hey guys, it's Mia and welcome back to my channel, and today I am going to do a sketchbook tour. I started this sketchbook in 2020 and I finished it last year in fall 2024. But before I get started, I want to talk about this sketchbook for a moment. It's KOH-I-NOOR Bristol Smooth 20 sheets, 5.5 by 8.5 inches, 270 GSMs. As you can see, it's a bright white paper, it's perforated, and you can also slide the pages in and out of the rings. I got this from Amazon. If you go on there now, the price changes every day. So one day this notebook can be $10 and the next day the price will go up to $14. I always wait till it's a lower price. But this is one of my favorite sketchbooks to use when I am using alcohol markers. So we're done with that. Now let's get on with the sketchbook tour. And I'm going to zoom in and try not to pay any mind to the post-it notes. I'm just using the post-it notes to cover up names and phone numbers. So this is a building I drew, and I drew it using a pencil. I used a pencil to measure the proportions, and everything turned out right. Before I learned this technique, I was just winging it. I was drawing buildings freehand, and everything was just out of proportion. Nothing fit. You know, the windows didn't fit, the doors didn't fit. It just didn't look right. But once I learned this pencil measuring technique for proportions, that changed everything. So let me zoom in so you can get a better look. Alright, now here's the next building that I drew. Chacho's Mexican food. I saw this restaurant when I was in California one year, December 25th, 2019. And this building caught my eye because it looked charming, it had a lot of personality, and I love all the detail in it. And I love the mural that was painted on the front of the restaurant. That's really nice. The grass growing in the sidewalk cracks. One of my favorite building drawings. And I'll zoom out so you can see the entire drawing with the palm tree and the power lines. This is a laundromat, and what I like about this drawing is that I have the buildings next door to the laundromat, but I used a neutral color. So it's giving context to the laundromat and letting it still be the star of the show. This building here could have benefited from neutral colored buildings in the background because it looks quite two-dimensional and it has no context to it like this one does. But nonetheless, I still like how it turned out. A window with flowers. Another window with flowers. And once again, I used a pencil to measure proportions. I was on Pinterest one day and I discovered this town in Italy. I can't remember the name of it, but all of the houses look like this. Different colored houses, brightly colored, laundry and plants all in the front of the building. And I was inspired to draw my own building like that. If I lived in that little town in Italy, this is what my house would look like. And I actually have a video of me drawing this. You have to find it in my playlist. just some pumpkins. This was around October 2020. Pardon. This is a dinner I had one night. This was also in October. And then we're going to jump to September 2021, almost a year later. And these are some apples that I drew. I was becoming more confident with my marker skills, so I decided to do something a little complex, but I really like the shadows of this one. I have the color chip right here. Helps keep my colors organized. Plus it helps me to remember what colors I used. And here we go, more fruit. And here we go, we have another house. Let me zoom in a little. I saw this house one afternoon, February 2023. It's a vacant house, and it's a white house, but the yellow is from the sun that was about to set that afternoon, and the blue is the shadow. Yeah, this was February 2023, and then more than a year later, October 2024. So I went from this to this. It only took about, I don't know, a couple years to get to this point. But I like how this turned out. It was a fruit bowl at work. Seashells that I drew. This seashell I messed up on, so I decided to hide it with a post-it note, and then I used a 4H pencil to draw a different seashell, and then when I went to color it in with a colored pencil, this is what happened. Because the 4H pencil is a hard lead, and it left scratches and dents in the paper. So that's why it looks like that. I could have changed it and drew another seashell, but I said, forget it. I'll just keep moving forward. But this seashell, alcohol marker and ink, alcohol marker and ink, alcohol marker and colored pencil. So I like how all of these turned out, but I like this one the most because the colored pencil added texture to the seashell, and plus it made it look a little more realistic. So here are some close-ups, and you can see the color chips. And these seashells, they're based off of photographs that I took or seashells that I actually have. I really like the color palette on this one. It's really nice. This is a paper nautilus. I had quite a hard time finding reference images for it. I haven't found a whole lot. I do want to redo this in the future, but I would like to make it into a painting instead. So I started on this paper nautilus, and when I was almost finished, I realized that the nautilus was a little out of proportion. So I said, whatever, I'll just do the best that I can, keep my color palette consistent, and focus on contrast. But he turned out okay. Alright. A frog. This is a frog that I saw in my yard one year. He was facing away from me, so I have a picture of his back. And I really struggled trying to create texture on his skin with the alcohol markers. That's a technique I really need to improve upon. So we'll see how that goes this year. But he didn't turn out the way I wanted him to. So one day I was watching a documentary on frogs on YouTube, and I saw this guy and I was like, yo, I'll draw him. And he turned out okay. I used marker and colored pencil, and he has a little bit of texture in his skin. Not as much as I like, but it's an improvement compared to this frog right here. Here is a slice of Costco pizza. I love pizza from Costco. Some people don't like it, but I do. Very delicious. One of my favorite types of pizza. Costco pizza. Here is another building that I drew. So in my previous buildings, I told you guys that I used a pencil to measure out my proportions. Well, for this drawing, I used a proportional divider instead. And let me tell you, using this was so much simpler. So I really like how this turned out. It was pretty easy to draw using the proportional divider. However, looking at this drawing now, I feel like there's something missing from it. I think it may be my line work. Like, my lines all look the same. There's no variation in the line work. There's not much texture. So that's something I want to improve also this year. So a year ago, I started practicing drawing faces, and I draw faces nearly every day because it's a skill I really want to have. And I've made so much progress in the year. I'm not quite where I want to be, but I'm getting close. As long as I stay consistent with practicing my drawing, my proportions and stuff, I think I'll make it. But I'm getting close. So these images I got from Pinterest. They are not AI images. These are images of actual models, real people. And I used a Hoo grayscale marker set. I really like how this turned out. I'll hold it up so you can see some of the detail in it. And last but not least, for this page, I thought I was just going to use it as a swatch page, scribble on it, you know, but I noticed that the marker didn't bleed through to the other side. So I said, hey, you know, I'll just draw something simple here. And I drew this lovely pink flower. But anyway, that's the end of the sketchbook tour. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in my next video.